Welcome, everyone. As you know, this journey of mine to find an AKIYA in Japan, an abandoned house, a cheap abandoned house, has gone on for quite a while. I'm looking at probably a year or so now. But as you know, if you've been following me, I've actually found an AKIYA or an abandoned house in Hokkaido, and it looks pretty good. I haven't actually seen it yet in person, but I'm going up there next week. But since I'm not chasing AKIYA at the moment, and because Okinawa has AKIYA, but as I've explained in the past, you can't actually find many AKIYA in Okinawa in the first place. And if you do, the prices are ridiculous. I saw one the other day for like 95,000, whereas most places you'd pick one up for maybe 10, 20,000. And that wasn't in very good condition and needed a hell of a lot of work. And it's very rare to find them. You do see them dotted around the place, but they're not very common. And if they're there, people are still living in them. So they're not really AKIYA, as in abandoned, as my wife calls them. They're AKIYA-ish. They still have people living in them. Or if that's not the case, then they've been turned into restaurants or cafes because they're quite traditional looking and kind of cute. So we've given up any pretense of trying to find a house in Okinawa, though a friend of mine the other day was telling me that a friend of hers bought a house up north of here for 500,000 US, a 3-bedroom house. And that's way out of the price ranges that I'm looking at, and probably most of you. But if you wanted a house in Okinawa, and you can get them, that's probably what, 750,000 or so Australian dollars. But is it really worth it? And then you can only spend a bit of time here unless you have permanent residency or the right kind of visa, that kind of thing. So since it's a bit of a dead loss looking at AKIYA in Okinawa, I thought this video that I would talk about my journey into the martial arts here in Okinawa and in general. Now, I started in the martial arts a long time ago. I was probably influenced by this guy. If you've seen my first video, you'll realize that he was one of the driving forces for my love affair with Japan. And his name is Koichi Ose. He was the Samurai, a TV show that was very popular in Australia in the 1960s when I was a kid. And it was really, I guess, for a lot of us, our introduction to Japan. And that love affair has stayed with me, and that's why I'm here now, and especially my love affair with the martial arts. I started in jiu-jitsu when I was maybe 12 or 13 for a very little while because I was always a very thin, slim kid and didn't have much weight. And so jiu-jitsu, I was getting thrown around by, 90, 100 kilo guys, which wasn't much fun. So I moved on from there to Kung Fu. Bruce Lee was just coming into his own not long after that, and I studied a Chinese Kung Fu style that was based to some degree on Wing Chun. And then I moved on from there to various martial arts over the years, from Aikido to karate to Taekwondo to you name it, I'd probably tried it at some stage. Okinawan karate is everywhere here. It's Okinawa, okay, fair enough, but they teach it in schools. They have the Budokan, which is like a main center for karate. They have the Karate Kaikan, which is also another major center for karate. They're looking at turning karate into, if they haven't already, into turning it into a recognized by the UN as a cultural resource. It's certainly influenced a lot of the way of thinking in Okinawa, and it's one of Okinawa's major exports, I suppose, when you think about it, when you consider that millions of people are learning karate around the world. Here in Okinawa, in Naha, they have a karate day each year, and they have thousands of people on the streets demonstrating karate and the various weapons that are endemic to Okinawa. You can see here that the Okinawans have a number of weapons that are not generally common to the mainland so much. And that's things like the sai, which are the daggers with the hooks on them. You have nunchaku, made famous by Bruce Lee. You have the bow staff, which is also used in the mainland, Japan, but it's done slightly differently here in Okinawa, the kata and the forms. The kata are set forms that you practice. The kata are there to try and teach you the various techniques if you ever need them in a real situation. The tonfa is another weapon that is specifically associated with Okinawa. You don't see many people using this generally, but here in Okinawa it's fairly common. The eku or oar is a traditional weapon used for self-defense in Okinawa, particularly by fishermen. When I got to Japan, I started with the Jundokan, which is probably one of the oldest karate schools in Okinawa, which was founded by Choju Miyagi. And the Miyagi name you'll probably recognize from the Karate Kid movies, because it was based to some degree on that tradition of karate here in Japan. And this is my karate dojo. A style of Goju-ryu founded by this man, Choju Miyagi. Japan had its own forms of martial art, tamari-te, naha-te, shuri-te, and they were influenced because of the trade that Okinawa had with China. And so some of the Chinese elements of Chinese Kung Fu were incorporated into karate. So the style that I started to study here was Goju, which basically means hard, soft, and incorporated some of the softer elements of Chinese Kung Fu. Now, I'm not an expert on Okinawan karate by any means. If you walk around here, you'll stumble across karate dojos. There are people who have studied Goju and Kempo and all the different types that are here for many, many years and know much more about it than me. This is just my experience, my journey. So I started with Goju, but what I found was that the low stances were really rough on my knees, which were already damaged. And so I was training pretty diligently for about 3 months, 6 nights a week, and I really enjoyed it. They were great people, very kind, very helpful, but it was taking too much of a toll on my knees. And there's an expectation in these traditional forms of karate that you study a particular kata for like a year or two, and then you move on to the next kata and whatever. And for me, at 66, it was my birthday the other day, I just turned 66, that was a bit too slow. So what I decided after that 3 months was I didn't think this was really the right place for me to be. So I left the Jundokan and I began a search for other martial arts here in Okinawa. And so I went and had a look at Kempo, and they have Kung Fu here. They have various forms of karate, not just Goju. And I looked at a whole bunch of them, and I looked at some of the one of the very old traditional Ryukyu Kingdom martial arts, which was very unusual, but really not my cup of tea. I also went along to have a look at Jodo, which is the use of the short staff, which is more of a mainland martial art, but it was very slow, and it really wasn't for me. I liked the idea of it, but it just didn't really work for me. I used to use a Jo when I was in Aikido, and I liked that style of it, but I wasn't wrapped in the way they were doing it here. That's not to put downer on Jodo. It's quite interesting in a lot of ways, and quite formidable. Legend has it that the famous swordsman, Miyamoto Musashi, he had a fight with another samurai, and the other guy lost. And he went away and he developed the Jo, and he came back and he fought against Musashi again, and this time won, using just the Jo, the short staff. So, formidable weapon. Also here, I went to visit Kyudo, which is the art of archery. I've just arrived at Onamaya Park, which is about 5-6 stops from Naha, and I've come here today to what's known as Kyudo Kaiken. And Kaiken is like a community center, sort of. But Kyudo is the traditional Japanese art of archery, and it has a very strong philosophical base, and it's connected with Zen and living in the moment and all that kind of thing. And so we stumbled across it when we came to Onamaya Park to have a look at the shrine that's here, and dropped in to see what it's about. Met one guy who was there just training. It was really interesting. I've always had a bit of an interest in Kyudo. They use the big long asymmetrical bows, which I'll show you in a minute, and that's the center in the background just there. Soon they will be doing their competition. Should be interesting. They stand very close to these targets so that they can practice releasing the arrow. In Kyudo, the aim is not just to hit a target, but to achieve a state of harmony and balance through the practice of archery. Although the martial arts were very prevalent in Japan, they've pretty much been supplanted by baseball now. Well, I'm at Starbucks after having a look at the Kyudo today, and Kyudo in my head was a lot more interesting, but what I found is that the sword stuff resonates most with me rather than many of the martial arts here, although I do have a fondness for Aikido. And finally, I stumbled upon this guy, Hamamoto Sensei, who has been studying Kenjutsu since the age of 6. And we had a few cross meetings that didn't quite work. And then finally, I managed to get involved in his school, which has been great. I feel like I've found my niche. The people there are very, very kind, very friendly, very welcoming. And there's something about, I think every boy and man loves the idea of a sword. Maybe it goes back to our evolutionary history, I'm not sure. But I found Kenjutsu to be really fascinating. Still rough on my knees, but every aspect of it is really, really precise. And my general vagueness needs to have some sort of precision like that. So I think it's a personal learning curve to actually be able to focus on so many different aspects of it. The way they tie their hakama, their kind of skirt-like uniform. The way they tie the sage on their swords. The way you do everything, really, is quite precise and all done in a set way, which is very Japanese. So I feel like I've found that niche after all this time. And in that process, I've become very happy doing this. I hope you enjoy this journey with me of my martial arts journey. And you too could come train here. The interesting thing about Okinawan karate is that I've talked to a few people here about why do you come here? And they've been very honest with me. You see, Okinawa is the home of karate. This is where it all started. And then it spread out to the rest of the world. Well, they really come here because of the kudos of being able to say, oh, yes, I trained with Okinawan masters. And these guys are very good. I mean, the people that were training me were 9th Dan Goju karate masters who've been training since they were teenagers, and now they're in their 70s and they're still incredibly formidable. Now, I don't want to take anything away from karate. I think it's quite brilliant. It's very strong, powerful techniques, but I think it takes quite a long time to learn, and to learn the intricacies, or the internal aspects, or the way of using your center of gravity and your strength, and that takes a long, long time. All these guys have been training for many years. I'm sure that if they were ever attacked, they would be devastating. But what you see happen is, in MMA, for instance, traditional martial arts styles, everything from karate to Wing Chun to Kung Fu to Aikido, all get trashed. And that's not necessarily a reflection on those particular arts, because I'm sure they would be formidable to a lot of degrees on the street. But with the rules of MMA and not being allowed to do certain things, then they don't really come off that well. And so for me, trying to learn from a martial arts point of view, I don't think, or a self-defense point of view, I don't think karate at my age is really the right option from a self-defense point of view. But that's not to say that it's not a great thing to learn. And all these guys in the 70s are incredibly fit, much fitter than me, because of the training they've been doing for many years. So my hats off to karate. I love all the martial arts. I think they're fascinating, and I've been interested in them ever since I was a kid. And I hope that the journey continues for many, many more years. As for Kenjutsu, you'll see from the video that I'm pretty hopeless at the moment. It's early days. I've only been doing it for a month or so. And I constantly hear no, 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 or chigao, which means wrong, and it's directed at me.
No. Left. One step, left. 1, 2, okay?
And of course, if you're going to learn Kenjutsu, which is the art of the sword, you need equipment, and that equipment is in the form of swords, obviously. And you start with this, which is a wooden sword called a bokuto, or a boken. They're pretty deadly on their own. And then basically the next step is a katana. But this one's what's called an iaito, which is a training sword. It's blunt and it's made of an alloy, but it allows you to practice without killing anyone, which is a good thing. And then, of course, in the tradition of the samurai, you actually have two swords. And this is the other sword. It's a shorter sword called a wakizashi, from memory. This one's on loan to me from the sensei. And this is a genuine sword from memory. And when I say genuine sword, I mean, once you get to your black belt in, or your shodan, the first black belt in Kenjutsu, they expect you to get a traditional katana. They call them a shiken, and that's the sharp, real katana sword, which is usually has some history. Like the ones I've used that they've lent to me have been anything from 150 to 500 years old. So that's down the track, and that's an expensive option, probably a minimum of $2,000 to $3,000, I suppose. But I'm not there yet, long way to go. Hamamoto Sensei's sword style is known as Hachiman-ryu Jisen Bato Jutsu, or Hachiman-ryu sword drawing style. It's an ancient Japanese sword fighting style originating from the pirates who roamed the East China Sea between the 13th and 16th century. Here I am about to do some cutting with this very old sword. Well, it's 150 years old, I suppose, but some of the people here have older ones. These rolled up tatami mats that have been soaked in water represent the human body and have the same sort of consistency for testing your sword. Sort of macabre in a way.
Okay. Wait. Stop it a little earlier. It's too low. Too low? Alright. Oh. There. That's where you want to be. Okay. Lower your stance. Good. One more. You can cut one more if you lower your stance. That's good. See that? Okay. Good.
On my birthday, we went down to Namanui Beach, which I call Namanui Beach, and we walked along the water, and we were told by the lifeguard to not do that, but to go into the sheltered area because of the stonefish and the jellyfish. I stopped off to assist a guy who was trying to learn how to serve a volleyball, and that was quite fun. And part of my birthday gift was a wonderful sword that my beautiful wife bought me. It's an Iaito training sword in very lovely condition, and I was very impressed with it. We also went to a shopping area or a restaurant area off Kokusaidori Street for lunch. We're having lunch in celebration of my birthday on this little izakaya street in Okinawa off Kokusaidori, and with my lovely wife. And she's just come from a massage and I've just come from the gym, and life is good. And I'll show you some of the food that we've just ordered. We're having a great meal here. I don't usually drink, but this is umeshu, which is my favorite drink. It's Japanese plum wine, and this is tangerine umeshu. Oh, that looks nice, eh? Beautiful. And it tastes great. Very sweet. And this is fish with sea urchin dressing.
And this is Grand Prix award.
Oh, and it won an award as well. Arigato. And this is a pork dish called
Nankotsu sauce no tomato ni.
And we also have this carrot dish.
And we call shiri shiri, ninjin shiri shiri. This is a quite Okinawa dish.
Yeah, Okinawa dish.
Yes.
Okay. It's been a good experience, my journey through the martial arts here in Okinawa. I just put this video together because I wanted to give you an idea of things that are happening in Okinawa, where we're planning on staying, but also there's nothing much happening with the house until I go up there in about 10 days time. By the way, it was my birthday yesterday. I'm now 66 and I'm in reasonable shape, so I think I'll probably make it to 70 in fine shape, hopefully. So we'll see what happens. But life in Okinawa is pretty good. I hope you get to Japan and you have a great time here. And next video after this one will be about the house in Hokkaido. I'm going up there. I'll be there for 4 or 5 days before a friend of mine, James from Australia, comes up, and stays with me for a week or so, and then we will fix a few things up. We'll have a look around the area. I should get lots of video and be able to show you some of the sights of Hokkaido as well as my house. So until then, I'll see you soon. Oh, one other thing, it's actually Golden Week here in Japan, which starts around about the end of April, early May, and it's very, very busy from a touristy point of view because all the Japanese are let loose on the countryside, and yeah, so it gets super busy. It's not so bad here in Okinawa, but in the rest of Japan it's quite crazy and crowds everywhere. So it's not such a good time to come. So try and block that out if you can. Okay, that's enough for me. I'll see you in the next video. Ciao.